Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for August 17th through 19th, 2020. How are you doing? Wow, what an intense and activating time. What we're feeling right now is very interesting in all of this fire. This 2020, we are being told that this is about control and, sickness and rules and laws and lockdown and all that. And really 2020 is about spiritual activation. But these are the first very obvious energies of that. And but it's really important for us to take advantage of this and to take a note of this, to kind of allow ourselves to come into the greater realization of this massive spiritual activation. It's really hard when the world is so crazy and you're like, oh, like I just have to put up with this. Like there's nothing I can do to help. There's nothing I can do to wake people up. Like what the heck is the point of all this? And that's where this energy kind of can support us on some level in being like, this is how we change the world. Is we embody and be true to our higher frequency vibration. A big part of the supernova soul energy is that you don't feel safe on the earth. You don't feel welcome on the earth. You don't feel received in your spiritual light on the earth. And you don't feel comfortable in the lower dimensional frequencies, right? It's like, guess why? Because it's not for you. That's not what you came here for. And yes, you've had to stumble through this over these lifetimes. But now it's time for you to thrive. Those higher frequency vibrations and the new energies you already know how to do that. You don't know how to do the lower dimensional energies. You're not that great at it. And it hurts. And we're in this pressure cooker time with this stepping into this Mars retrograde energy and all these squares of so we're still feeling Mars square Pluto, and for the next week or so we're still going to feel that influence. And so very powerful for this coming up into this Leo new moon tomorrow on the 18th 19th, depending on where you are in the world. And so there's this intense pressure cooker, and it's kind of like bringing up so much because the light sounds good, it feels good, it looks good, it's what we want, so it's what we need, these higher frequency vibrations. But they have a way of lighting up the shadow, and they have a way of triggering and kind of burning away the fog to see what needs to be addressed and show you what was hidden. And sometimes it's like there's incredible tension energy. And what I'm seeing is that the supernova soul is kind of in resistance to these energies. What we do is we kind of hold on, put the brakes on, because we're so programmed on a fundamental level to resist these higher frequency vibrations, these spiritual ascension energies. We're programmed with fear, deep subconscious energies that keep us kind of bracing and clinging to the old concepts and precepts and structures and form, because there's all of this fear programming, the unknown, and you better hold on for dear life to that sinking ship and all that. But what's happening right now is that today, very powerful, happy August 17th, because the sun and the moon now is in Leo now. So because we're heading into this Leo new moon, but the sun is exactly in conjunction with Mercury today. And it's like Mercury is our mind, our conceptual reality. And the sun is who we think we are, the role that we're playing, our identity. And so it's like a meeting of the minds, a meeting of our mind and our self. And it's like this huge energy of the light, the fire, the potential, the life force, because these planets, the moon will join, excuse me, the moon will join up with the sun, for this new moon. So it'll be the sun and the moon exactly there with Mercury in trine to Mars and Black Moon Lilith. excuse me, and they're in trine, in square to Pluto. And so Pluto is, of course, about breaking down the structures that are no longer working in our life. Black Moon Lilith involved is saying it's hidden, it's secret, it's distorted, it's dark. And it's like, that's that thing where we're at, where it's like, ooh, the light coming in. And then it's like, oh God. Like, it's like putting your glasses on and then you can see the dirt in the corner. You know what I mean? And so, but it's showing us exactly what needs to be cleared up for us to move into the future. And so, the other intense thing though, so we got this massive influx of light, and Jupiter and Pluto, not that far away, this Mars square still interacting with both of them, and Venus in exact square with Chiron. Now, Venus is in Cancer, trying to rest, trying to receive, trying to come back into connection, but also grief. It's almost like now you're feeling what that retrograde confusion over the last 3-4 months brought up. Now you're dealing with the grief and the emotions and the, maybe that's what's getting lit up in your world. And for all of us, planetary grief. And then Chiron and Aries, it's around where we haven't been able to be who we are, where we gave away our precious life force, where we've been feeding the monster, where we've been living a lie and being here on the planet, but not being who we are, and conceding our reality for this bullshit reality. And we can't do this anymore. We got to grab a hold of that life force, grab a hold of that light, grab a hold. So it all comes back down to, all of this is really about, or points back to breaking our authority contracts, because we've all, being human, it's kind of like we all fell in this trap, and especially supernova souls, where you said, they're like, oh, well, you want to exist in our paradigm, then you got to feed the monster, and we own you. Right. So I see a lot of times, this is coming up right now, because these contracts are coming up, and I'll see a lot of times in individual sessions, this energy of maybe ancestral energies or personal relationship contracts or authority, or they could be all related, but where it's like these energies or people, you've made an agreement with them, a contract with them, that they have proprietary claim on your light and your energy. And it's like, we've been so disavowed and so disconnected deliberately from who we are, and that's brings up grief in itself, and planetary grief, that we haven't been able to be the transformational planetary healers that we are here, except for, have we not? Is that what we're doing? And so this is just like all coming to the surface, but these contracts where you have agreed, and and it doesn't make sense, so this is where we have these past life things bleeding in. It's like, what in the heck is going on here, right? But it's like a challenge to your light and who you are. And it's like, oh yeah, you think you're going to come and just shine and be who you are, right? And it's like, we own you. And that's the power grid. The fact that like, we don't really even need these wires, but we're going to grid it up so we can charge you and control you with power. And then, we'll hide the fact that we have free energy so that we can control, everything is based on power and control. And this is what, I don't know, are you seeing this in like this black and white thing, this timeline divergent, this narcissist bloom on the planet, where it's like, it's really hard to interact with people just in who knows what's normal, but like, in a healthy way where you can just meet each other where you're at, it's like this, everything's a freaking power game, and it's fun because it's like, we're just walking around and it's all based on this lack, that we just don't have. We've got to go out and try to find what we need. And it's like, we have everything. We have the whole universe within us. And it's time this lie is revealed. And maybe that's it. See, this Black Moon Lilith energy, right? So we have the Sun and the Moon and Mercury in trine to Mars, and Black Moon Lilith in square to Pluto. And that's about like secrets and hidden things that need to be revealed, and so maybe that's part of this. Maybe, I mean, I think that is like all of this is playing out because humanity needs to understand that they're a slave and they're feeding a satanic monster of control, lower matrix that's been keeping them as a slave, and not very fun to look at. And it's almost like the more light that comes in, the more these truths go hide it deeper in the corner, and we're just in this really uncomfortable place of like, when is that 100th monkey? When is that first little disclosure drop going to unravel the whole story? It's like this uncomfortable feeling, like waiting for something. And we are what we're waiting for. Ultimately, that's what we have control over, like we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. And the supernova soul, definitely really strong messages about you show up in this world. Like the shift that we're looking for and what we want to see doesn't have anything to do with truths coming out. I mean, it does, but it's like it starts with energy, and these souls, I've been shown this picture of like when the supernova soul drops these old stories and comes into their power, it's a game changer for the planet, and it's not like to put a whole bunch of pressure, because that's definitely what's coming up with the Venus in Cancer, planetary grief. Oh, we also have the South Node on the galactic center. Just add that into the mix. That's a huge energy right now, feeling like you don't deserve your spiritual path and purpose because you failed in the past, and you don't deserve to be that planetary healer. You're just stuck here. You're just stuck here in prison. And it's like, no, free up the energy. You are in charge. We are in charge of our own energy. And so it's like that loyalty contracts, the secrets, the revealing, the light coming in and burning away the fog to see clearly what's going on. And break those contracts with authority, break down that ego death, that fault. It's like, if you're not conscious right now and actively keeping yourself aware and conscious, you're getting more and more sucked into the technological matrix. And so we got to like grab a hold, for those of us that are still breathing, like, it's funny, like the masks and the 5G, all the things interfering with our ability, our oxygen, and like, and it's like, oh man, look at all these mechanisms that are trying to interfere with the simple, beautiful, organic breath of life that we are. We hold the power, and so each of us individually deciding not to feed the matrix, deciding to come into this full expression. That's what this astrology is about. And that's where we're like, you don't have a choice for these last years in this awakening process. You could do it halfway. You go be yourself, here and there once in a while when you feel comfortable. It's like, no, you're being asked to step the F up. And it's uncomfortable. And it's like just this resistance that what feels like it's happening right now is that the outside world, because this is Mars retrograde and square, it's like glitchy, like things aren't moving. You're like trying to push through these energies, right? But a lot of that is actually a manifestation of our inner resistance to the changes, and the fact that nobody around us is making that shift a lot of times. So it feels like there's just this core level, deep subconscious programming of fear and resistance that we're dealing with. And so, wow, this astrology is just all on the table. We got our planetary grief. We got our woundedness of not being who we are. We have our deep, victimized sense of self over not deserving our spiritual purpose and path. And that goes back to these authority contracts. We have Mars frustrated that we're not getting anywhere, and up against Pluto, the structures of ego and false lies and control matrix that's keeping us back. I'm just seeing that picture of that giant being held down with little tiny strings, and it's like, oh, you're a giant. Like you can get up and walk away, but there's so much that keeps us. But it's almost like once you get far enough to see that truth, and maybe this is this light coming in, right? Then it gets easier, to give yourself permission. But it feels like what's going on for the supernova soul right now is this pressure to expand and come into your full expression while you're here. And then, of course, all the things that are working against that coming into view out of the shadows, out of the darkness, so that you can find it. And it's like making day-to-day life just feel really heavy. The Capricorn energy can be heavy. It's like, and we've been in this for so long, and yet we got to start putting our energy and giving ourselves permission to be in the light of it and the joy and the ascension of it. Because, I think one shift I have felt through this year is like, even though it's been really strange and dark and uncomfortable, but the supernova soul in general is more living the truth that we are in a spiritual ascension. It's more obvious. It's like, oh no, yeah. Oh, I think this ascension thing they've been talking about, I think that's actually happening, right? And so if it's happening and you know that and you feel it and you understand you're here for that, because those energies support you, whereas you're flailing around in these lower vibrations, like we're just getting bounced around in the box of who we are, of who we've been told we are, right? That's that Chiron and Aries. And but if this thing is really happening and you're starting to feel this vibrationally, like, whoa, like sometimes I'm seeing people have waves of just like this activation type energy, a different way of our body, cellular chakra system, it's coming online. It's happening fast. And if you can feel that, but see, you have to understand that you have this light coming in, and then it shows you the darkness you still need to deal with to establish in that light, right? And this is the dance we're doing. This is this Mars retrograde. If we can pay attention and be present, as uncomfortable as it feels, we can just really move through to a whole new level of existence in 2021. And but if you know and you sense that this spiritual ascension is happening, then why not be in it? We can choose that. There's a lot of energies around, well, the timing has to be right. When is it going to happen? We're waiting for it, and throughout time, at any point in time, a soul can individually step over into their light body. We don't have to wait for anything or anybody. And then in that statement, I could feel like this fear, So a lot of what's going on is we think we're being blocked from moving forward, but it's actually our internal resistance because of this programming and this, like, it's all we've ever known. And, you're going to be completely alone out there if you make this choice. So just notice that these things are coming up. Also, it's being revealed very clearly what structures are in the way. And that feels like a full-on attack by the universe. But the main point of this energy right now, the gift of this Mercury, Sun, trine, Mars, is that a concept that comes forward. I've talked about a lot, but it's like in the birth chart of the supernova soul, you'll often get this, like, you sure clear your karma, right? But you came for something more. You can't really complete your experience here, your karmic thing on earth, until you come back into the full expression of the spiritual light of who you are. And you've been disconnected from this. You have a higher dimensional counterpart that you had to forget about and you had to reject and has been rejected. And for survival, you had to agree on all levels of your being not to remember. And now the remembering is like, whoa, Stardust is trying to come in, right? And then you got to deal with all the fear programming, all that comes up. So this energy of full expression, though, this is the next couple of days, this new moon in Leo, a new start for the light, a fresh start, and remembering that we're here for full expression. And then that's what's being shown to us in this Mars retrograde, is what's in the way of that. And just, getting that marching orders, getting our laundry list, cleaning out the corners, and keeping up with the work, right? So part of the Capricorn energy that this is going to be over soon. I mean, Pluto's going to stay in Capricorn until 2024. But at the end of 2020, Saturn and Jupiter together move over into Aquarius. Incredibly profound. And so this heavy Capricorn energy is going to be over, but how about we use it to our advantage right now, which is like hard work paying off, and not maybe beating yourself up, right? Like that can happen too. We don't want to do that, but being like, I'm going to be present. Like this shit is intense, but I'm not going back to sleep. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it because I know things are going to be better. I can feel that this is about ascension. I want to move over into that, as soon as I can. And so Capricorn has this hard work paying off. It's also about breaking contracts. So you don't want to fall asleep right now and just flail around for this Mars retrograde. You want to get rid of those authority contracts wherever you gave anybody or any force or anything outside of yourself the power over your energy. That's what's really coming up, And then, of course, it's like, why would you do that, right? But you did it because you were programmed with fear around your power, And there's been masters throughout history, one by one, here and there, just cross over into their light body, experience that, the spiritual ascension that we're all going to go through, right? But it's like, we don't have to wait for that. We can do it right now. And maybe we can do it just in a moment, for just to kind of flick that switch and be like, oh, I'm here for this. And that feels fine. And everything's fine. It's like this big spiritual energy that's in charge. It's like, it's just this destiny, maybe this is the gift, what we can gain from the South Node Sagittarius of like who you are, the spiritual journey of this evolution is so much bigger than you can even imagine. And just get your little self out of the way, I mean, easier said than done, right? Because our little self is like, but just pay attention to that and be like, could this pain that I'm, experiencing, this struggle, this drama, this trauma, is there any part of me that, like, is that reflecting any part of me that's actually in resistance to these energies? Because this new moon in Leo is saying, hey, it's coming in and it's right here. It's real and it's happening. And it's something you can choose in every moment of every day if you want, when you feel ready. And then, kind of maybe you can use this Mars retrograde for more of a deliberate exercise. It's like, I feel like we're just in that maze, the Capricorn energy, the structures, it's like we're in this maze and we keep going back and forth like, another wall, another wall. And it's like, maybe this whole light coming in thing is like, we were told and we keep coming up against the wall. There's no way out. Sorry. This is your own. If you want to live, you're going to be in the lower matrix and feed the monster. And there's so many like reincarnated, beings, like who you are. You've already gone through spiritual ascendant. And so the fear programming is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, And I feel these souls looking for guidance for this, and the answer is like, you know this within you, right? And the guidance, the channeling and all that stuff out there, like there's good information, but there's a lot of twists and distortions. And it's like, you are higher dimensional origin from those people you're listening to as guides or those entities. You're like, oh, the Palladians, right? And it's like, what if you are more evolved and have more access to actual spiritual truth? And we got to wake up to this and find this within us. Because when we do reach out in that level for validation and guidance with these channeled sources, we're giving our power away. It's just another example, right? And then, and it's like, it's just so much truth comes through. And then there's just this little twist on it. And that's where you got to go direct to source, Because who you are as a supernova soul, if you can even listen to this video and deal with these concepts, it's that you have already experienced spiritual ascension. And you remember, and you know this within you. So why would you want to try to get information from energies that are, say, fourth, fifth dimensional energies, when where you came from as a soul, your experiences are higher than that? Quit giving your power away. You know, it's like it's all within you once we remember and wake up. And that's the school we're in. You know, Earth school, we're getting beat around because it's not about being comfortable here. And that's maybe a message for this Mars retrograde, right? It's like, you're not here to have the cush life. You are, I mean, that can be there, right? You know, especially as you move into higher energies and receive that and know we're worthy and all of that. But it's like, it's not going to stop beating you up until you cross over this threshold. It gets more intense, more working against you, more interfering energies until you make that final leap. And we're dabbling there at the edge, you know? And so here we are. And there's a glimpse of this Leo new moon, you know, it's a very powerful energy of this is about the light. And that spiritual ascension energies and higher vibrations and the spiritual revelation that's available to us is way more real than all of these stories that are being played out. But it's like, say all those stories, like that's what's really happening, is all these stories are being washed away. And it's like, but then who are you without those stories? You know? And a huge agenda to keep us spiritually isolated right now. Because if you don't have another person in your life to as you awaken, to reflect back to you, it's hard to receive it. It's like, that's the ultimate invalidation, is this isolation and abandonment. You're left alone there on the earth, and sorry, you know, I hope you like your prison planet, because you're not getting anywhere. And so it's a part on the journey, right? As we choose to let go of the old and move into the new, but it's an important energy in our full expression of reflecting back to each other, you know, and know that there's a huge agenda in the isolation and the separation and the lockdown of group events and people coming together. It's like, it's showing you everywhere for lifetimes where the people around you and the energies of this control matrix deliberately, all these resources going in to just make sure under no circumstances do you ever get your spiritual truth reflected back to you. And that's what happens when you meet your soul team, you know, your soul group, your soul mates. It's like, oh, and that's why it's hard to receive, you know, and people will sabotage it, because it's like, if you feel like you can't receive your bigger spiritual self and truth, and somebody comes into your life and reflects that back to you, you're going to find a problem with it, and you're going to reject it, and you're going to run away. And so we're just in this huge dance, and maybe that's what's like coming up, this grief around getting off our mission and we don't deserve it. And just the supernova soul is having such a difficult time receiving right now. And like getting over these hidden constructs of, you know, low self-worth and, you know, you don't deserve it, it's not safe. Like all the programming is just like a bloom. It's funny, I'm seeing this like, almost like a cut and opening up this wound, and there's all these wires in there, and they're like short circuiting, you know, like our programming is like short circuiting and getting all like, and in the meantime, we're like, who the hell are we? What are we doing here? How do I make it through my day? You know? But maybe we can keep that perspective of like, this is a really good thing. We really want to be short circuited right now, unless you want to be AI That's, so hang in there. I hope to see you for the Leo new moon activation tomorrow at 7 p.m., Tuesday the 18th at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. And we're going to be kind of looking at this energy, letting the light come in our life, entertaining full expression, entertaining the spiritual ascension, living and breathing this truth together, coming together to connect with our soul group and be reflected back in the spiritual truth that we are, not this lower story that we've been told. And so I look forward to seeing you there at the live activation, and if you can't make it to that live time, it's hard in a lot of time zones, but it's just before the actual new moon. So I wanted to encode the energy into that, but you can always catch the replay. That energy is live and encoded in the replay. So you can get your questions answered, get your reset, get your guided meditation to help you make the most of this very potent, powerful, this spark of light coming in. And can you receive it? Can you let that open up your whole world, which is the truth of you that you've been very deliberately and drastically hidden from in this lower agenda, because you are that much of a threat to the lower matrix, you just being you. So let's do this. I look forward to seeing you soon on the activation or the next update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.